So I want to start this second article lecture with a picture of one of my favorite paintings. It was given to me by my wife, and it's by a Texas artist named Brent Mowry. And one of the things I love about it is it seems very abstract, but it also almost seems like you can make things out in it. And so, since this article is called How to Make Our Ideas Clear, I thought I would start with this painting, which is much more than an idea. It is sort of a festival of sensation. So, um, anyway, with that as an intro, this is the lecture on how to make our ideas clear. This is an article by Charles Sanders Peirce from 1878. It is the second in a series of 6 articles. We're reading the first 2. We just read and discussed the fixation of belief. That was from 1877, and this one was from 1878. So, this is the companion article we're reading to Fixation of Belief. And in this article, Peirce introduces what's called the pragmatic rule or the pragmatic maxim for achieving complete clarity about the contents of concepts, propositions, and hypotheses. And this initial method for clarifying meaning was later really developed and expanded out to become pragmatism. So a lot of pragmatism, or most of pragmatism, traces back to these 2 seminal articles, and this is an extremely important statement of what later gets developed as pragmatism. So the pragmatic maxim, or the pragmatic rule, is one which helps us carry out scientific investigations in a responsible and self-controlled manner. It also has important applications within logic and philosophy. And so in this piece, Peirce is going to explain how we can clarify concepts that are fundamental to the method of science, as he describes it in the first article, right? Method of science being a broad inquiry-based approach to many kinds of questions, not just scientific ones. It is going to clarify concepts of science. It's going to clarify concepts of philosophy, like reality or truth. It's going to clarify all kinds of concepts. He even does transubstantiation. The article is going to connect the method described in the first article with philosophical concepts such as truth, and demonstrate how this method deploys science's self-corrective nature and establishes important conclusions, particularly that there are no important propositions whose truth values cannot be established using the so-called method of science. So, in the article, Peirce details what he calls 3 grades of clearness of meaning. He's going to explain why a new grade of clearness is needed. He's going to discuss doubt and belief again, and he's going to argue that thought exists to produce belief, as we saw in the previous piece, Fixation of Belief. Remember there, belief is something that we're aware of, something which appeases our irritation, the irritation of doubt, and something which establishes a rule. And this last aspect is very important. Belief establishes a habit that determines action. Okay? So from these different elements, Peirce synthesizes what he calls the pragmatic principle of meaning. And the key idea here is that meaning is distinguished by habits. And he illustrates the pragmatic value of the pragmatic principle by applying it, and gives examples such as transubstantiation from religion, hardness of objects in sort of science or physics, and then reality from philosophy. So he's going to show how it can be applied across different spheres of knowledge. Okay. So let's talk about the 3 grades of clearness, the 3 grades of clearness of meaning. The first level of clearness that Peirce discusses is sheer familiarity, right? So I possess it when I can just unthinkingly apply the concept in my experience. So I recognize my cup and I drink from it. I use water to wet my hands, right? If I say that this is gold and that is not gold, then I am using it in a way which shows that I have familiarity. So that's the first level. The first level is familiarity. The second level is definition, right? Having a formula, an abstract definition. So, for example, gold is a soft yellow corrosive resistant element, the most malleable and ductile metal, right? So a definition of gold is the second grade of clearness. So this kind of rational clarity depends on a logic that Peirce believed would be useful for science and which would be different than the kind of clarity that Descartes describes in the Meditations when he describes clear and distinct, right? In Descartes' method, clarity is not subject to test or disproof, right? It's glimpsed, it's intuited as necessarily certain. Okay? So this meant that you could never be wrong about it. And the result, Peirce says, is muddled concepts and wasted lives and a whole lot of disagreement between people who think that they have intuited something that's certain. Now, the problem with having just two grades of clarity, according to Peirce, is that many false distinctions can multiply, right? We use language in sloppy ways, and sometimes we mistake something we're confused about for what objects are really like. And so he says, to these two very important grades of clarity, we need to add a third. And the third grade of clarity accords with the experimentalist approach to inquiry and laboratory experience that he was describing in the first article. And he says about this third grade of clarity, he says, consider what effects which might conceivably have practical bearing we conceive the object of our conception to have. Then our conception of those effects is the whole of our conception of the object. Okay, I'm going to read that again. He says, consider what effects which might conceivably have practical bearings we conceive the object of our conception to have. Then our conception of those effects is the whole of our conception of the object. Okay. What I want you to notice here is that even belief itself can be analyzed using the three grades of clearness, right? A belief is something that we're aware of, that we're familiar with, that we define as something that appeases or relieves the irritation of doubt, and third grade of clearness, that establishes a rule, right? A rule for action or a habit. And this last aspect is very important.